Hi, welcome to episode 274 of the Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy K on Ravelry, Fluffy Kira on Instagram. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, and that's where this episode and every episode show notes will be. We have an Etsy shop called The Corner of Knit and Tea, and we have a Ravelry group also called The Corner of Knit and Tea. Hi, how are you? It is Monday, April 20th. It is about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it is a beautiful day here. I went out to run a couple errands this morning, went to the market and to pick up some mail, and it was raining at that time, but it is now 70 degrees and sunny and beautiful. I think we're going to go in and out of this weather all week, and I'm happy for that. I do like spring. Everything's blooming other than the pollen and allergies. It is lovely out today, and I think I'm going to try and take a walk before the day is over, although I'm running out of time because it's 4 o'clock. For today, I am wearing the Breezeway, which is a tee by Laura Ayler. I knit it last year with Brown Sheep Cotton Fine, and it is one of my favorites to wear on warm days because it is a nice, cool cotton tee, and I really like it. I might actually make it again out of some other fingering weight because it's a nice, I like the shape. It's kind of not too fitted, but nice and comfy. So that is what I am wearing today. How are you? I hope that you are doing well. We are on week 5, 6. I don't even remember anymore of working from home and staying at home. My little county in Kansas is supposed to hit our peak this week and then potentially go down a little bit. We just had our stay-at-home order extended through May 15th, which means my husband will be here through May 15th and we will still not be going out much. I miss my knit group. I miss going out sometimes to do things. I was generally a homebody before and didn't go out most of the days of the week. But I will say I miss getting to go out and see people and eat lovely things at restaurants and all of the things that we used to do in the before times. And I do think it is going to be a bit before we get to do that. I am not complaining. We are healthy. We are happy. My parents are healthy. My sister and her children are healthy. So all the people most important to me are doing well and coping with being inside. And so that seems fairly easy compared to those who are first responders, medical staff right now, and those of you who continue to have to work. Thank you for working outside the home and for putting yourself in harm's way. My husband and I are incredibly privileged to be able to work from home during this time and still sort of be keeping on. So I had kind of I don't know whether I'll call it a resurgence, but this week I was feeling a little bit more positive and upbeat. That still comes and goes, but I did do lots of creative things this week, including I started and finished a project that we never talked about, but it was kind of a good motivator to finish something quick. So let's get into the podcast. Today I am drinking the Downton Estate Blend Classic Earl Grey Black Tea with Vanilla. It is one of my favorites from the Republic of Tea. I like pretty much all their Downton Abbey blends. I don't know if they're still doing them because Downton Abbey has been off the air for quite a while. But I am drinking that today in my tentacular mug. This is a tentacle mug from Semi-Cool Ceramics on Etsy. She is in Sweden, so shipping is a little bit expensive, but she makes beautiful mugs, and I would encourage you to check her out. So that is what I am drinking today. And actually, I brought a little bit of a treat. I baked yesterday, and I made macaroons. These are coconut cookies, and they are primarily coconut with just a little bit of flour, some sugar, some vanilla, and a few egg whites. And they are delicious. I made some that were gluten-free and vegan a while ago because we were making something to take to friends who do have diet restrictions, but this time I went and looked for a good recipe that was a little bit different, but also I really like simple recipes that only have 6 or 7 ingredients. I think they're great, and especially if I can pronounce them all, it makes it even better. And so I have been baking some sweet treats for us. So I'm gonna nibble on those, probably not during the podcast, but after, and enjoy them with my tea. So let's get started on the knits. The thing that I knit that you didn't see was a little fox hat, and this is Foxy and Wolfie by Ekaterina Filipova. Ooh, now I can't remember the last name. It's like Brandalk. I'll put it in the show notes. It is this adorable little fox hat, and she also has some customizations so you can make it a little wolf hat. I knit this out of Primrose Fiber Duchess, which is her, I believe, either DK or worsted weight, in a dark orange colorway. I had knit a hat and mittens for Miles last year, and so I had some left over, and then I didn't find any white worsted or DK weight, so I held fingering weight doubled, and I confess I don't know what the yarn is. It's just a skein. I think it's a skein that I bought to do some heels and toes and have kind of a neutral color for when I didn't want to do black, and then 3 buttons. This hat is really, really well written. I would encourage you, if you like it, to purchase it because it was well written and inventive, and I really liked it. The hat is constructed in the round, although the first part of the hat, where you've got the face and the back, is done in intarsia. So you are knitting, you're basically knitting a full round and wrapping your stitches, and then interlocking partway, twisting your yarns to interlock partway through, but you're basically going back and forth in the round. It's a little like you're knitting it flat, but you're actually knitting in the round the whole time. And then when you get to the top, it has you work the top back kind of flat and add some short row shaping for the ears, and then works down into this front piece. It was really inventive, and I liked not having to do it in pieces and sew it up. So I can highly recommend the pattern, and the results are just absolutely adorable. This is a hat for a 3.5-year-old friend of mine. He is the grandson of someone that I work with at pen shows, and when he was born prematurely, and we knit him a bunch of hats for the nursery, and then we knit him a bunch of hats maybe 6 months or a year later, and he has now outgrown those. He can no longer squeeze his head into them, and he asked his grandma if he could have some more hats, and so we are knitting hats. But this is a fox hat for little Calvin. So that was a fun knit. It took me about 2 days to kind of do all the little pieces, but that of course wasn't 2 days of continuous knitting. So, and then I just had 3 black buttons in my stash and sewed those on. So that is the Foxy and Wolfie hat, and the last name is Blanchard, Ekaterina Filipino Blanchard. And so I will put that in the show notes, but I can highly recommend that pattern. So let's look at the other things that I am knitting on. I put a little progress, although it probably won't look like much to you, into my Ripple crop top. This is a rippled crop top pattern by Jessie Made Designs. I am working on it in Yarn Geek fibers in this lovely turquoise and purple colorway, which is called Vonda and McIntyre. She was a science fiction writer, and Yarn Geek names all her colorways after geeky women. So it is a merino cashmere nylon blend in fingering weight, and I am still working in my ribbing, but I really think I'm pretty close. I measured it against a sweater and decided I wanted to go 11 inches before breaking for the front and back, and I need to measure, but I have to be at least at 10 inches at this point. I worked on this last night. We had our we've been doing Zoom knit nights, so we've been meeting on Zoom and knitting together on Wednesdays and Sundays, and so I worked on this quite a bit last night, and I'm hoping that I'm basically at the breaking point and will be able to, the underarms, and so I can start to split for front and back and work on this. Like I said, it's the ripple crop top. Mine is going to be not so rippled. Maybe I'm going to call mine the not so ripple crop top. The pattern is well written and I am enjoying it. This just has ended up kind of at the bottom of my projects because I have other projects that I will show you, and somehow this one just hasn't gotten all the attention that I wanted it to, but I'm still enjoying it, and I still have quite a bit of yarn left. These are generous skeins. They are 463 yards. You can tell they're a little bit different. So in exact colorway, they were probably dyed in separate pots or in different places in the pot. And so I am alternating them, and I still have plenty of yarn yet left. Plus I still have a third skein untouched that I will probably think about when I start to do the sleeves. So that is my not so ripple or not so crop. Let's see, rippled not so crop top. So, the third project, which has been getting the most of my attention this week, is Washed Out by Joji Locatelli, and I am knitting, this is a shawl pattern, a 3-color shawl pattern that I am knitting for Zen Yarn Garden. I am knitting it in their Serenity 20 base, which is a merino cashmere nylon that is really luscious, and I received the Hummingbird colorway, which is the Hummingbird kit, which is 3 colorways. The 2 semi-solid colorways are not were not named, so I don't know what they are, but I have this beautiful brown. It's kind of a cafe au lait or mushroom brown, and Washed Out is a garter stitch and lace shawl designed by Joji Locatelli, and it is designed to sort of flow through 3 colors. I did have to make a few changes, which I'll note on my project page, because the skeins that I received, the shawl calls for about 1,200 yards of fingering weight, and the skeins that I received were 400 yards a piece, and the shawl was designed in a skein that had about 460 yards a piece, and so and I was told that the color 2, the middle color, needed about 440 yards, and they are not wrong. I did run out, but I made a few changes to the pattern just to sort of accommodate for that. So we've got a garter stitch and a lace section. The next garter stitch section I should have wound in the first few stripes of my color my color 2, sorry, it's colors 1, 2, and 3. One is this kind of, like I said, cafe au lait or mushroomy color. I should have started putting in color 2 in this section, but I skipped it so that I could save some yardage for later. Another lace section, and then I moved into the true transition, which is color 1 and color 2. And last week I was amused by myself because, of course, color 2 has far more colors than I thought. This is the Hummingbird colorway, and you can see it beautifully in this lace section, and then also in this garter section beneath that is all color 2. It's just got beautiful purples and pinks and yellows and lavenders, and then of course some of the browns that you see, a few oranges, and some of the browns that you see in the colors. After the second lace section in the shawl, it was time to start transitioning to the third color. And I knew right off that I was not going to have enough of the second colorway to do the entire transition by itself. So I went ahead and pulled in a little bit of the first colorway, as you can see, and then the third colorway, which is kind of this dark chocolate espresso brown. And I don't know what exactly this colorway is, but it was the third darker colorway. And so I worked with the 3 colors through this section, as you can see, and towards the end I ran out of the Hummingbird, which was the color 2, and just used colors 1 and 3. And now I am in the color 3 section. And color 3 is a different lace section. So it is going to be a solid section with some, it's got some kind of, it's hard to, I don't remember what it's called. They look almost a little bit like arrows or leaves, and it's just the first couple of rows, so you really can't see much, but that is where I am starting. You can see some of the yarn overs there, and I will have more to show you next week. I fully expect another couple nights of work, and this one will be done. The pattern is beautifully written. As I said, the only changes that I have made are because I knew I would be short on my yardage for my middle color, but now I am just going to finish up in on this great kind of espresso, and I don't anticipate any other issues, so I expect that I will finish as written. I'm on a US 5 needle, which is what the pattern calls for. And that is my Washed Out by Joji Locatelli. This is going to be a sizable shawl and really, really nice. It just grows, starts at a point and grows until you get to the end. So I expect I'll be able to show you that next week, but that was probably about 400 yards knit this week. So definitely put time in on that. Probably why my top didn't see as much knitting. But I am working on that one and hoping to finish that this week. My third work in progress is my Painting Bricks shawl, and that is by Stephen West of West Knits. And it is a shawl that has a main color and contrasting colors, and his has been sort of a rainbow of fun colors. They're great if you want to use minis or leftovers from your stash. It is meant to be knit in either fingering or DK weight, but I actually have been knitting it in lace weight. And as I've showed you the last couple weeks, I decided to knit mine in gradients. These are the Merino Ombre lace from Freya Fine Hand Paints, and this is the Hard Candy gradient, and as you can see I am almost out of the green into the blue, and then this is the Clouds gradient, and I have moved out of the lightest gray into some of the slightly darker grays. So I'm using these together. I am actually using the bright color as the main color, and that is just because it uses up more yardage than the contrast color, and so these were basically reversed in the main pattern. They had kind of a solid main color and then all sorts of colorful contrast colors, but like I said, I wanted to use all of this gorgeous gradient, and if I miss a little bit of the gray, I'm not quite as concerned about that. So, stop talking and show you where I am. You can see I went through the bright yellow, through kind of the yellow and green, and now I am in the green, and I had a bunch of lovely rows of green, and now you can almost tell I'm starting to get into the green and blue. If I hold it further away, I think you can see the gradient almost even better, and I am loving this. The rows are really long right now. I have almost 500 stitches on the needle, so I'm only doing a couple sections a night, which is why it is taking me some time, as well as I have a few other projects going. This one is just for me. All of them are just for me except for the Washed Out shawl. So, you know, as long as it takes, I am enjoying my garter stitch and stockinette, and I am just absolutely loving the way this gradient is playing out. I'm not noticing a ton of gradient in the gray, although actually I can see a little bit of it here, but I am loving the yellow and green, and I don't think the camera is doing them justice. I will have to try and get some photos. I'm hoping to get a progress update photo once I get just a little bit more into the blue so I can show you, but I can see the actual gradient here, and I've got sort of this bright sunny yellow that kind of goes into a more kind of citron yellowy green, into kind of a bright neon green, and now it's almost changing to a little bit of kind of an aqua or like a minty green as it goes into blue, and it's just beautiful. So I'm enjoying working on this. I have maybe 5 or 6 more sections before it is time to start the border, which seems about right based on the yardage that I'm using. It looks like I'll probably get through the blue section in the main shawl, maybe just start the purple and then do the purple and the pink in the finished section. If I have to do a couple extra rows, I will wing it and figure out how to do that because I want to get through all of this gorgeous gradient. So that is my plan. And probably a few more weeks of work on this one, but I am enjoying it, and even though it doesn't look like I'm making progress, I am. It's just a lot of really little stitches. So that is what has been on my needles this week. I have a hat that I'd like to cast on. I'm thinking about another sweater, but I would like to get a few things off the needles first. I also have another sample knit. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but I have the yarn for it waiting in the wings. So when I finish this particular Zen Yarn Garden sample, I do have another one. So all in all, not bad for some quarantine knits. Let's talk just briefly about my rainbow blanket, and then I will talk about spinning because I have that as well this week. It has been a super, like I told you, I got inspired this week and I have just been working nonstop on my stuff. So I am participating in the 100-day project, which is this great project online. It started on April 7th, and the theme of the project is it's free to join, and the theme of the project is to pick something that you want to do for 100 days. It can be anything, and it can be any craft, just anything you'd like to do. And I decided that I would like to work on my woodland crochet blanket, which is a pattern by Lucy of Attic 24, and I decided that I would put a stripe on a day, which I have done. I have not done today's stripe yet, but I think last weekend when I talked to you, I was back around the red, and of course I need to weave in some ends. Oh, that's because that's the back. That would be why it's all gross. Let's try something different. Let's try this side. Yes, much better. I think I was around the red last time, so as you can see, I am going back out through orange and yellow and green, and I am just through a bunch of my greens. This one is, I think, pea pod, and this one is seafoam, and it will be time to go back into the blues and purples. So by the time I speak to you next, I should, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I should be ready to turn around again. It is amazing how fast this blanket goes when I actually work on it. I am working on the third repeat, meaning I have gone from red to purple to red, and as you can see, I was really good and I wove in my ends for this first chunk, but that is sort of the pattern of the blanket, and now I am going to work through red to purple to red again. I suspect I will go through probably 3 of these full repeats, maybe a 4th. It will all be determined by how much yarn I have left, and then there is some kind of a border, which I believe I will be doing in either this dark red, I think I'll probably do this dark red color here, since it will get used slightly less, since it's only 1 row in between there. My other choice will be this purple, but this is a blanket for Miles, my nephew, and his favorite color is red. So I think I'll probably border it in red as much as I can, so that he has his favorite color around his blanket. I also should state, so I love this project. It is super bright and cheerful, but I had a moment of misgiving where I was like, is he gonna want a rainbow blanket? Like, he's 3.5, so, you know, he probably does, but I was like, is he gonna want a rainbow blanket, or should I have gone with something slightly more subtle? Partially because I'm also making these twin size blankets and sort of hoping that they will carry the kids through their childhood. Roxy's is a slightly more, I don't necessarily want to say sophisticated palette, but it is a little bit. It's pinks and purples and blues and greens, but it's very kind of flower, and I think it was inspired by peonies. And so it's a little bit more subtle and something I think she might be more willing to grow with, whereas this is kind of just crazy. However, my sister told me this week that Miles has been wearing one of the hats that I knit for Roxy back in the day. And back in the day, I knit this hat for Roxy, and I did kind of a scalloped edge in white that looked like clouds, and then I had a skein of leftover sock yarn from a friend that a friend had given me. It might have been DK Wade, actually. That was a rainbow. And so I knit her this hat that looked like clouds and a rainbow. And of course, at the time, she was into My Little Ponies, and so it became known as the Rainbow Dash hat. And it is still known as the Rainbow Dash hat, and my sister told me this weekend when I was on the phone with her that Miles was getting concerned because the Rainbow Dash hat that I knit for Roxy when she was probably 2, wasn't fitting him as well anymore because his head is getting too big. And she said, do you think you could knit him another Rainbow Dash hat? And the funny thing is that I have to look back at my projects and figure out what yarns I used so that I can make it the same or similar, because I honestly don't even remember what I used or what I did. I mean, I have a vague... I know I knit it, but like I can't remember the specifics of the yarns that I used or the needle size or what. And I need to make him another one. So I said, oh, well, I guess he'll probably like his rainbow blanket then. So this can be his Rainbow Dash blanket. Anyway, I am enjoying it. We are only like 13, 14 days. I guess today is day 14 on the 100-day project. And I am just really extremely happy that I can work on something on a project during this time and kind of measure my progress easily in Stripes. It's nice when you work a project and can see a bunch of progress. So that is my single crochet project. Actually, technically it's double crochet, but it's the only crochet project I have going right now. And if I finish this blanket in the 100-day project, I can start on Roxy's. So never fear, I will have plenty of projects to do. And actually, I need to do hers in about the same time it will take me to do his. So I'll probably just extend my 100-day project a little further. So that is what I've been working on here. Sip of tea, I'll cover the spins, and then we'll be done. So, spinning. I have not had very much to show you for the last few weeks as I worked through 2 braids in my stash. They were deep, well-loved stash slash hoarding for a rainy day. And I feel like we are in this rainy day right now, which is not to say I haven't bought things. I will show you some things that I bought maybe in a week or two when I start spinning something new, because I have bought some fibers and I want to spin them. But this was fiber from Southern Cross Fiber. It was from his Mega Sal in 2015, which were a whole bunch of colorways and a whole bunch of dyers who dyed colorways inspired by the Discworld series of books by Terry Pratchett. And this was the colorway Veterinary. And basically, when I show you this, I will be able to explain to you, and you'll be able to see fairly quickly my only issue with this skein. The fiber was South African Superfine Merino, which, as far as I'm concerned, is my favorite fiber. It will probably be my favorite fiber forever. It is beautifully, beautifully soft. It drafts. It is so, so lovely. And it drafts super thin. By the time I was done, I got over 500 wraps, and those are 2-yard wraps. So I probably got somewhere between 800 and 900 yards from 2 bumps of fiber, which is unheard of for me. I normally do not spin that thin unless I'm spinning this. And I will show you now. If you remember, the fiber that I showed you had dark navy blue, some dark foresty greens, and then some pale green and pale blue, and then some burgundy. And it did have some burgundy. It didn't have a lot of burgundy, but it did have a little bit. But as you can see in this skein, there's almost no burgundy. It reads almost entirely blue with some green spots in it. Now, I will show you, there are small burgundy sections that will appear probably should I knit this. Let's see if I can find a few of them for you. There are not many is really the issue. So you can see maybe a little bit there that there is some burgundy in there. Let me see if I can find anywhere else. There were a couple sections. Yes, there were a couple sections where burgundy plied on itself. I spun this as a fractal spin, meaning I took 1 braid of fiber and spun it straight through all the way with no breaks. You can see this has not been washed yet because it's still a little energized. I finished plying it yesterday and then I pulled it off the wheel today. It has not been washed. It will need to be. I spun this as a fractal, meaning I took the first entire braid, which was somewhere between 3.9 and 4 ounces. David measures his fibers in grams. So his braids are 110 grams, which usually means about 3.9 ounces. If they end up on the generous side, they're 4, but if not, they're 3.9, which is fine. I mean, it's exactly what he advertises it at. So the first one I spun straight through, large chunks of color. The second one I tore into, I believe, 5 strips and then spun those, and then I 2-plied it, which I love for the yardage. And as I said, it's beautiful. I love the way it feels. I wish it were a little more burgundy, and that's just because I am a burgundy girl. I wonder if it will show when it knits up. I have not decided yet what precisely I'm going to do with this skein. I could put it in the shop, so if it strikes anyone's fancy, let me know, and after I finish weighing and measuring and washing, I can put it up in the shop. Otherwise, I will probably keep it, and I have noticed, and I can't remember who, do you ever scroll through your Instagram feed and you're loving pictures and whatever, and you see something somebody's making and you're like, oh, that's brilliant, I should make one of those. And then you keep scrolling and then you forget who it was and where it was and you can't find it again. Yeah, I have seen someone's hand-spun shawl that they are working on, and as I was winding this off, when I was like, oh, 900 yards, this would be a gorgeous shawl, I should do that. So now I need to go back through my Instagram and see if I can figure out who it is. And reminder to myself, I should always bookmark those. Anyway, so that is a squishy almost 8 ounces or 8 ounces. I haven't weighed it yet. It could be 8, otherwise it'll be 7.8. And this is David of Southern Cross Fibers. Fiber. He has an ongoing monthly club. He also has some braids in his shop. So if you are looking to support someone, he is overseas in Australia and he does have some shipping considerations. Some countries are not accepting mail right now from out of the country. So you could have a few issues ordering for that. But if you are looking for some fiber, I can highly recommend his fiber. So, excuse me. I inhaled funny, and now my eyes are watering. Woo! That was a good one. Okay, let's talk about what I'm going to spin now. I was looking at a whole bunch of braids in a box. I have several carton containers. I have an IKEA bookshelf that has little cubby holes, and then I have the bins that fit in the cubby holes. So I have several bins that are full of fiber, and I kind of eyeballed them, I don't know when, maybe when I was getting out the Vetinari to spin, and I noticed that a couple of the different braids that I had in my stash, particularly from Hello Yarn, looked like the colors were a good match together. And so I really haven't paid too much attention to the fibers. They're both very different fibers. Well, actually, they're not terribly different fibers. They have some different add-ins, but there are 2 braids that I thought might make a nice combination. So I have decided to do a combo spin. The first is a braid from 2018. So this was a club braid and it is called Tall Tales and it is on Merino 70s top. And I recently spun Merino 70s. I can't remember which braid. I recently spun one of hers on the same base and I cannot remember, but it was a lovely spin. This one reminds me of summer and stone fruits. And I say that a lot, but that's just what it reminds me of. I see peaches and plums and nectarines and all the wonderful summer fruits in here. And so I thought this would be a nice kind of plummy braid. And as I said, it's Merino 70s. So it's just a really soft, really plush merino. The second braid was a more recent one, and I'm looking over here to my notes. It is called New Season, and it is from February 2020, and it is a Tarhi wool, bamboo, viscose, and tussa silk. So Tarhi, bamboo, and silk. It is a lovely blend, and of course the bamboo and the silk give it slightly a more muted tone. It almost makes it look iced. When I look at things like this. And this, again, it has a little bit more in the oranges and yellows, but it also has those plummy and peachy tones. And so I thought that this might be a nice combination, and I can kind of, this is what I like to do when I do a combo spin. I like to kind of roll them together so I can see how the colors will look together. And you can probably see at this point why let me hold it up again. You can see why I thought these would look good together. They really are kind of the same colors, even though they're very different bases. The bamboo and viscose, like I said, make one of them look almost a little iced and more muted. And then I've got the deep colors on the merino where that really struck. So I think I'm going to spin these 2 together. My plan is to spin each braid as a bobbin and then 2-ply it. And I think what I'm probably going to do is tear each braid into strips. That's kind of my preferred method for giving me a lot of barber pole goodness. I will probably put this one in the shop. So if you are interested in kind of a summery braid, I have no idea what kind of yardage or what kind of weight I'm gonna get, but this is my kind of welcome to spring and summer. And like I said, it's called New Season and Tall Tales, so I'll probably call it the Tall New Season, or maybe Seasonal Tall Tales, or Seasonal Tales. I don't know. I'll come up with some conglomeration of the two, and that's what I will be working on spinning this week. So I believe we have come to the end of the podcast. It's almost 5 o'clock now, I believe. Let me see. Yep, it's 5:01. So I am going to finish up here, take some photos, and then maybe get started making dinner. I hope that you are doing well where you are, that you are surviving the coronavirus. I hope you're healthy. I hope you and your family members are healthy. I hope that either staying indoors is not too terribly hard for you, or that if you are going out and working, that you are safe. And I thank you again for doing such an important job and going out and facing the world each day. I just can't say enough words for my gratitude for those who are keeping this world running right now, and they should be receiving hazard pay and raises and all of our gratitude and care and support. I hope that you are patronizing your local yarn stores if you are able to do so. There are tons of wonderful indie dyers online who are struggling just as we all are in this epidemic. And if you have a little money to spare and want something new in your stash, or want to craft something, think about looking at them for supplies, or also donate your money to worthy causes. I am going to be making a donation to our local pantry. It's called Harvesters, and it helps those in need with food in the Kansas City metro area. So I've sort of selected that as my personal charity to donate to. And as I said, I have been doing some shopping, and you'll see some more of that over the next several weeks as I start to knit and spin with those things. Thank you for joining me today. It is always such a pleasure to sit and knit and talk to you, especially these days when so much of our socializing has to be virtual. I will say, as I always do, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next week. Bye.